Hi, my name's Phil. I like talking about politics, and Trump is probably not eligible for the Nobel Peace Prize anyway, but he should get the Charlemagne Prize given to people who make the greatest contributions to European unity. That is the claim by someone at the Financial Times. So has Trump basically united Europe? And far from driving a wedge between the UK and the EU, as he seemed to want to a few months ago, is he actually pushing us close together? But also, what if Trump puts Europe in the position of having to deal with an American invasion of Canada? Now, this sounds mad, but it is plausible. What if Trump invades Canada? Yes, I know he can then probably kiss goodbye to his Nobel Peace Prize dreams, but what else will happen? But first, for daily political commentary, please hit the subscribe button to stay notified. So let's start off with the positives, then go to the very dark places being discussed openly now in the American news I see in the last couple of days. So, I mean, adversity does force people to come together in many cases, and Trump has been providing plenty of adversity. The EU Commission and newly emerging German government have leapt into action with proposals to massively boost defence infrastructure. Keir Starmer and Emmanuel Macron have similarly been working overtime on diplomatic efforts to unite as many European leaders as possible to support Ukraine and also try to calm Trump down. And of course, manage Europe's security that way. Because it's not just the defence of various realms and republics at stake. Even if some European countries don't feel personally threatened by Putin, which seems a bit reckless, his empire building still harms trade and so threatens anyone's economic stability. And Trump is very much driving a lot of this rethinking in Europe. His political alignment with Russia doesn't just mean that Europe risks losing an ally, it might actually end up with an extra enemy. And his threats of a major trade war with Europe and the UK, while still currently just, it's steel and aluminium right now. He hasn't actually gone ahead with that. But that favours closer alignment as well. But I must also just point out on the old trade war. So Trump obviously put tariffs upon steel and aluminium. The EU have responded with politically sensitive US products, including American whiskey. And Trump is raging at this. Do you know what he said? I'll put it up there for you to read yourself. But he's sort of threatened to put massive, and I mean massive, like 200% tariffs on wines and champagnes and stuff. And he says, that'll be great for the American champagne industry. The American champagne industry. You what, mate? I mean, he's a teetotaler, so I get he doesn't understand alcohol. I don't drink much. And I don't drink champagne at all. I don't even like it. So I always have to say I'm a Vimto socialist. Can't be a champagne socialist. Don't like it. But even I know there's only one place in the world that champagne comes from. It's clues in the name, mate. Clues in the name. But anyway, this closer cooperation we're building up with Europe now, we're developing it on defence and security lines. But of course, that could lead to much closer alignment in other areas as well. And if voters around the continent not only approve, but actively demand it, then Donald Trump may indeed deserve the Charlemagne Award. And I'm sure Trump would happily accept it. It is an award, after all, that Winston Churchill won. He just might not realise that in his case, it wouldn't exactly be a compliment, because the unity of purpose he is inspiring in Europe comes at a cost to America. And if it works out, even his mate Vlad. But then there's something else. Right now, there's a lot of reacting to the insane stuff which Trump is doing, which is, despite being insane, nonetheless sort of normal. It always reminds me of the Joker in The Dark Knight, isn't it, about no one loses their minds when it's all part of the plan, no matter how horrific it is. The trade wars, downgrading of rights, austerity on steroids, geopolitical realignments. All of these things do happen. I mean, various countries from time to time. And we were certainly expecting it with Trump. Like, we can't say we were surprised. No one can really say they were surprised. But there are also things which are too insane for many people to take seriously. They think, oh no, that'd be silly. Which may nonetheless happen under Trump. He has openly discussed bringing both Greenland and Canada into the United States by fair means or foul. What if he means it? And it all sounds too fanciful, doesn't it? I mean, Trump might be stupid enough, but you think, will Congress go along with this? It'd be suicide, wouldn't it? Will the US military? But if Trump has taught us anything, it is not to put any faith at all in checks and balances on executive overreach, because they may turn out to be illusions. So how would an invasion of Canada work? Well, according to some who are, as I say, openly discussing this now in America, very much using the same methods Putin has used. You don't launch an invasion as your opening move. You first weaken your target. So that could be the aim of the trade war. Weaken Canada's economy, but also work secretly with people who are prepared to betray their own country. Destabilise Canada economically and politically, whilst keeping your own public blind to what you're really up to, because they won't fancy being conscripted into the Canadian Expeditionary Force. Until, of course, it's too late and you've committed them. Also, as Trump has learned from Zelensky, once you're at war, guess what? Can't hold elections. Oh dear, no midterms. Also, martial law makes it easier to imprison political opponents for being seditionists. That will be a lesson he'll be learning from Putin. And the more you think about it, the more dystopian the possibilities are here. As Trump prepares for his invasion, he will presumably claim he's just trying to reassert American dominance, to make America great again. But the purpose would actually be less about making America stronger, which it would not, and more about making Canada weaker. And when the conditions are right, invade Canada, creating confusion with not only the move itself, but triggering your Canadian traitors to cause political paralysis. Or aim to. It's not clear how successful that part of the strategy would be, given that Canadians are very much in a fighting mood against Trump. I've seen some suggest that in reality, the result would not be America taking over Canada. It would be economic collapse in America and another civil war. This is not to say that Canada would come out of it spotless. But that's Trump's problem. That is not necessarily a problem for the person who may really be behind this. Because however it turns out for Trump and America, it would be a very welcome distraction for Putin, wouldn't it? In fact, it's a no-lose situation for him. North America will be collapsing in terms of global influence because they're fighting each other. That helps Putin. If America descends into civil war and disappears up its own arsehole, well, that works for Putin too. Doesn't matter if Trump falls, he will have done more for the Kremlin than Putin could have dreamed of when he first recruited him. How would Europe react? It would presumably side with Canada for all sorts of reasons. Not sure there's any diplomatic ambivalence possible if Trump actually launches his imperial plans. But what support could we give Canada, given that Putin will use the opportunity to press his own attacks in Europe? And how damaging will it be for the war against Putin in Europe if we have to break off all intelligence sharing with the United States if we formally become enemies? And this is why I'm taking the threat very seriously, to be honest. I can see it from Trump's point of view. He is an idiot. He sees trade friction with Canada. He thinks to himself, even though he's created that trade friction, it wasn't there before he became president. And he thinks to himself, well, if only Canada would fall under my rule, then all this nonsense can stop. He's simple enough to think of horrific solutions being perfectly sensible and pragmatic. But what really gets me worried is that it would be of enormous benefit to Putin. So he will certainly try to encourage it. Indeed, he may have been priming Trump for this for years, even providing him and his collaborators with advice on how to prepare the ground in advance, as well as whispering in his ear about all the benefits, right, of Canada becoming part of the United States. I mean, I suppose for taking the prospect seriously is, if you think about the global impacts of what would inevitably end up being a third world war, because if America kicks off with Canada, you will have not only Russia, maybe China, maybe others, using the distraction to seize coveted territories. So it's much better, I would say, as ludicrous as you think the idea might be, even though it is being openly discussed seriously, it's much better to prepare for this outcome and end up being hopelessly wrong than to laugh the idea off, not prepare, and it turn out to be true. All-out insurgency war in North America, Putin invading Western Europe, and we may only have a year or two to prepare for it if it's going to happen. Are European leaders discussing this possibility behind closed doors? If so, what do they think they can do about it without going public that they're preparing for such a horrific outcome? After all, it's not like things are fine now and they've got time to consider contingencies. Is the calculation from Putin that European leaders are focusing on the fires in their midst now and just sort of hope that the major infernos never actually happen? But there we are. Those are my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comments below. If you've enjoyed the video, please click the like button and subscribe for further content. If you'd like to support the channel further, you click the join button for memberships. Thanks for watching, and until next time, I'll see you later.